Hi guys, so this is my face palette collection. This is in no particular order, so I'm just going to jump right in. So this is the Pure X Barbie blush palette, and I love this so much. It's honestly one of my favorite blush palettes. I really enjoy it, and it really caught me by surprise because I really did not expect that. Pure is definitely a brand that's hit or miss for me. Like, I got the eyeshadow palette of like the same line. And this is their second Barbie release, which I'm not totally against. I'm a huge Barbie fan. I was a Barbie girl. I mean, like, I had a lot of Barbies growing up. This definitely speaks to me more than the other collabs they've done. But the best thing about this palette is the pigmentation is out of this world. It blew my mind. I tried it on camera with you guys for the first time, and I was laughing because I just dug right into there and I looked like a straight clown. That was me barely touching it. I don't think I have any blushes that are this pigmented in my collection at all. Truly mind-blowing. I probably will never go through this whole palette because it takes like one tap to cover my whole cheek. I could just go on and on about how much I love this palette. So if you get your hands on it, I definitely recommend it. And I think the packaging is pretty cute. It's pretty cute. I give it a solid 7 out of 10. Give it, 7.5 out of 10. That's my final number. So next we have one of my favorite palettes. First of all, this is gorgeous. It's like weighted too. It's like heavy. So you could hit someone with it. But I mean, the palette is, I have about 2 or 3 of them, which you might think is excessive, but I've hit pan on the banana shade, and it's the best banana powder for underneath the eyes I've ever found. Better than the KKW, better than these bronzers for sure, and better than any other banana powder that I've tried. It just doesn't crease underneath the eye at all. And I'll mix like the pink and the yellow together sometimes, but I really gravitate towards that yellow because it really will brighten up my eyes. But I'll talk about the bronzers. So they're very pigmented, which you would think would be a good thing. But you know what? Contours that are too pigmented, because it's just really easy to go overboard. So I just slightly tap in. So I will use this bronzer sometimes. But the banana powder and that pink shade are really what stands out in this palette and what's made me purchase it over and over again. And I don't know if it's limited edition or not, but it's probably my favorite product from Tarte for sure. So next we have a trio that really grew on me, the Italian Summer Trio from Anastasia, Beverly Hills. At first I was kind of appalled at how expensive it is for a product that's so small, but if you're a traveler or traveling a lot and you want to take me with you, no, I'm just kidding. Now back to the palette. So, I mean, this really has like your entire face makeup in this tiny trio. And I feel like it's just so soft, and it's pigmented, and it's blendable. The formula is really what sticks out about this palette. Just the fact that all 3 of these are bomb.com give this an A+, so I recommend it. I think if you buy this, you will not be disappointed at all, even though it's expensive. I'm willing to pay the price if it is really good quality and it's convenience. We're all paying for convenience. So I found a dupe. This is the Elfx Jen Adkins palette. I just stumbled upon it when they were like laying next to each other. I was like, oh my gosh, they're like twins. And the Elfx Jen Adkins palette also includes the quad of, this is like a neutral palette. But I'm just talking about the face powders in this. So for example, the only difference is I think the Anastasia Beverly Hills is a little bit more pigmented, but then again, it's like 4 times the price. Also, the Elfx Jen Adkins palette is currently, I believe, discontinued. It was limited edition. So I'm not sure where you can get your hands on it. Maybe eBay? I'm not sure. It is pretty pigmented and soft. I have to build up the blush more than I have to do in the Anastasia. but they're extremely comparable. I would say they're total dupes. Besides, you know, this one also has the eyeshadows included, which is nice. I love both, and I love the eyeshadows as well. But just talking about the face products, I think in order of favorites, the highlight is the highlight, then the bronzer, and then the blush, because I really have to build up the blush a lot to see it on my cheeks. But as you can see, it's just super nice. The packaging is kind of weighted, and it's pretty nice for a $10 to $15 palette. So Elf is like, they can knock it out the park. Like, some things are like, okay, but this is like really great. Next, we have the Scott Barnes palette. So I've wanted these for a while, and I just took the plunge and bought the contour palette and the blush palette. This is the contour palette. So I was so excited to get these. I've heard Tati talk about them a lot. And by the way, Scott Barnes is JLo's personal makeup artist, and he has pretty good tricks in her videos. So this is beat up. This is beat up, guys. I like the formula. At first, I was super overwhelmed with the amount of bronzer and contour shades. Like, I didn't know which ones to use on me, which ones to use on my clients. Like, if you're going from left to right, there's like a warm bronzer, then there's like this really dark bronzer, which I rarely use. And then it's just, you got to determine which bronzer is for actually warming up your face and which bronzer is for chiseling out the face. So I feel like I got that down. But if you're like a beginner and you got this palette, I could see it being really overwhelming because you're like, which one do I use on my face? But yeah, next is the blush palette, which I was more excited to get than the contour palette, but I got both. So this gets dirty a lot. It's not even coming off. But I really like the pink writing. I'm not going to lie. That's really what got me to purchase this. Like, I love the packaging. And I was just looking at it. It's so aesthetically pleasing. It comes with 2 highlights as well, which I did not know. So the highlights are not my favorite. They're just not. I wish they were just more blushes, to be honest. Like, I would be okay with not having those highlights in there. Like, I just don't feel like they're that great. They're like so. They're not horrible, but they're not great at all. The star of the show is that orange fizz and that super bright pink. Those blushes are so nice and so beautiful. I mean, that is pretty much like all I use when I open this palette. And I'll sometimes I'll reach for the highlight if I don't have one near me, because it's fine. But I just be like, I pretty much just fell in love with those 2 blushes. As you can see, they're unique. And I think the really dark blush on the very right on like bottom corner, that one's really nice too, just kind of like to add a little bit of depth. But the rest of the blushes, like those peach blushes, they're just way too similar. Like, they look almost identical to me. As you can see, the one next to the highlight, they're just way too similar. And so I don't think that all the blushes are that great, but those 2 are really bomb. Is it worth it to get it for 2 blushes? That's for you to decide. I would say that actually I like the contour palette more than I like the blush palette, which I was not expecting. Well, we have an accident here. Moving on. So next I have the Prism blush palette from Manny MUA Lunar Beauty. The packaging is chef's kiss. Mwah. Truly astounding. His packaging is wow. I mean, I'm just a huge fan of the aesthetic. And then the inside is also very beautiful. And when I first got this palette, I was using it all the time, mixing the colors together. But as time went on, I did see some negatives, which I will touch on. So the negatives are that I do think these blushes are a little bit powdery and they are on the lighter side. So if you have a darker skin tone, like almost all this besides the last 2 are not going to show up on your skin. So I just wish he came out with another palette, even for me, because I feel like that baby pink does not show up on me at all. And I'm not that dark. Like I'm like olive skin tone. But I mean, it's just, unless you're extremely pale, you can't just use like one of these blushes. So I pretty much have to mix it. So that's the biggest con. The biggest pro is that it kind of has a bronzer in there. Like there's that kind of reddish undertone. Excuse me. Reddish undertone. And then there's the bronzer shade. So you could like mix that light color with the bronzer shade to create. So it's kind of like a mix and match palette versus the Pure X Barbie palette. It's just way more pigmented. And this is just like 1/10 of the pigment. But the packaging is beautiful. But for me, it's kind of like what's on the inside counts, you know? Like it's what's on the inside. And speaking of what's on the inside, we have the Juvia's Place palette. I mean, I like the packaging on the outside. It's cool. It's cool. Definitely, you know, I don't know. I like the Lunar Beauty packaging. And there's no mirror, which I am a big mirror fan. I like to do my makeup random places. So I want to just be able to open it up and do it like in my bed, basically. But what I'm trying to say, these are so pigmented. I mean, if you have anything from Juvia's Place, you know that like their stuff is pigmented. Like you're getting good quality eyeshadows and you're getting great quality blushes. I want to try the bronzer duos. I have a blush single, which is super nice as well. I love this palette. I want to get another one. It's also pretty affordable for what you're getting, which is extremely pigmented blushes. I love that bronzer shade on the very left. It's basically a bronzer. I mean, it's brown. All of these are pigmented. I like to mix and match. That's what the best thing about blush palettes are. They can kind of mix and match and create the color that you want, but they also stand alone. So the two blushes in the middle are more of a shimmery shade. So I can I tend to mix those with the matte. So there's like different formulas as well. This is a Saharan blush volume 2. I definitely recommend it. I'm sure the volume 1's just as good. Oh, guys, we got a dud though. We got a dud. Okay, so this is the Jouer Mimosas in France palette. So I saw SMLXO use this and I was like, this is so beautiful. Like Jouer aesthetic is right up my alley, guys. And I saw it was limited edition, so I was like, oh my god. I think it was sold out at one point and then I got it. Disappointed though. So I know I haven't tried the citrine highlight from Jouer. That's what they're known for. But that highlight in here looks like this, but it's definitely not as soft as the single. They're just powdery and they don't last on the skin. Like they apply fine. They just don't last. And I don't reach for it because it doesn't last and it's just nothing special. It's just nothing special. The formula is nothing special. I mean, even the Elf formula is better. And that's disappointing because this is not cheap. I love a lot of Jouer products. I find that I had their 6-pan blush palette and I decluttered that as well. I'm just not a big fan of their palettes at all. Like I like their single stuff, their concealer. So this is kind of a duo. This is not the big Shade and Light. This is just a small one, but I thought I'd throw it in here. I like it. I think it's pretty good. It's a bit powdery, not gonna lie, but it's nice to have a banana shade. You can't have too many banana shades. I always set my under eyes. And a contour. So, I mean, it's good quality. It's on sale. So if you're in the market, it's good. It's not great, but it's good. I will definitely use it up. And, it has that gray undertone, decent packaging. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I'm super tired, but I wanted to get this out for you guys. Love you. Bye. Please subscribe.